It happens on a subatomic level. It all comes down to forces. So there's a positive ionic charge and there's negative ionic charge. In this case, people have to get around the idea that a positive ionic charge is not a good thing and a negative ionic charge is a good thing. Negative ionic charge means there's more electrons in the outer belt of the atom than there are protons in the nucleus. This makes for a life-generating force. This is lots of electrons. Electrons are life-generating. Electrons are life force, if you can look at it that way. So healthy human tissue is charged with electrons. It's negatively ionically charged. When substances that are acidic, so that's alkaline, right? Healthy tissue is alkaline. When substances that are acidic come into that healthy alkaline, negatively ionically charged tissue, it sticks magnetically because the positive charge sticks to the negative charge. So what happens is, if you can imagine, the food comes in, the acidic food comes in, and it's like it hits the skids. You know, it's like coming in and it hits the alkaline tissue, and this is negatively ionically charged. It's like going, and it starts to magnetize to it, starts to stick, and in sticking it slows down. So it hits the skids, and then it basically embeds. So when the healthy tissue and the positive ionic charge acidic substance meets, it sticks through magnetization or magnetism, and in that stickiness, as it sits, it becomes more and more dehydrated, and it also dehydrates the tissue because it starts to rob the tissue of its own innate inherent water content, and then they basically wind up forging together. They become married, unfortunately. And so in that unhealthy union, that matter just starts to, it embeds deeper and deeper and deeper with every day, because with every passing day there's going to be less water content, and all that's left is this union, is this magnetization. So the tissue gets dry, the matter is only going to get drier. The substance that goes in, what's amazing to think about is that anything you take into the body by mouth is going to be its moistest when you take it in. It's going to get drier and drier and drier after that point, which means it's less kinetic with every passing moment, which means the chances of it actually leaving the body, being eliminated, needs to have, the intestine needs water content, and the matter needs to have water content in order to leave. Otherwise it gets stuck. So we talk about being stuck. So the chances of it leaving are the best that day, and then they decrease and decrease and decrease thereon, onward from there. And what people need to understand, maybe I should get them. I should have them come out.
Dogs need to go where they need to go.
Okay. You just stay there. Are you sure that you're happy with the lighting and the way it's sitting?
Yeah, it's cool. I'm getting you sort of just from the knees up and a bit of space above your head, so it's a bit of a slightly wide shot.
Okay, as long as you have the lighting, it's fine. Okay.
Yeah, the lighting,
so let me
lighting sort of comes
no,
right.
I'll lose my thought here. So what people need to understand, what happens is that if this matter is not leaving the body, then and it's continuing to enter. So it's the 3 meals a day plus snacks plus drinks plus bag of chips plus whatever it is, like all this stuff coming in all day long, and it's not actually all leaving, then you have what's called accumulation. So if you can imagine that some of it leaves, so people think, oh yeah, I went to the bathroom. Yeah, but did you really release everything? No ways. If you're okay, I don't want him to. I don't want to have to go back in. Okay. You tell me, but is it okay?
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay. So if you're happy, if a person is happy to keep most of what they're consuming in their body, then they can keep doing that. But if the idea of keeping most of what you're consuming is not that appealing to you, then you want to do the awaken and release method of cleansing, which is what I teach, to get this waste that's been magnetized into the tissue up and out of the tissue and released from the body, which is perfectly doable. Once people know how to do it, it's actually really successful, can even be fun. Yes, and not only is it sitting in there, it's not, even though it's not kinetic, it's not dormant. It's percolating pathogens. So it's the perfect breeding ground. What's happening is, remember I was talking about the healthy alkaline tissue. What it does is it changes the biological terrain of the tissue. So if you imagine the tissue has this terrain, and its bioterrain is alkaline. If it now is married to acidic substances, it's no longer going to be so alkaline, which means it's going to be a breeding ground for all forms of pathogens, because that's what percolates, that's what grows in acidic matter, and this becomes acidic tissue then. So the whole system then starts basically being the landscape for bugs to grow. Parasites, rogue bacteria, rogue microbes of all sorts, fungus, yeast being a single-celled fungus. It's just, and then it's no surprise that we have all manner of symptoms in all manner of places. So it just becomes this, okay, well, if there are pathogens percolating everywhere, and by the way, these colonies of pathogens, these pathogens are having babies, and they're growing, they're proliferating throughout. And these babies and these colonies of pathogens are consuming what you're eating, so they're defecating, they're passing noxious gas. So you're basically becoming the septic environment for their consumption of what you're eating, and in that, they're making all this noxious stuff. I mean, it becomes exponentially, it compounds. The problem compounds and compounds and compounds. And all we have to do, such a simple solution, is expunge it. I mean, if you want to look at the timeline of colon cleansing, it's not only extensive, it's also very humorous, but it legitimizes, you know, what needs to be done to clean the body. You know, people clean their cars fastidiously, they brush their teeth fastidiously, they clean their houses, and you know all these other things. But their body's filthy. But on that note, thousands of years ago, the consumption isn't what it is now. So what they were even applying colon irrigation to what people were eating 2,000 years ago, which is what they did. They did their colon irrigation 2,000 years ago. It's documented throughout, but they were eating, you know, dates and grain, and it was all fresh from the field. It may not have been, you know, ideal. They may have been overeating what they were overeating and things, and maybe there was, you know, the meat and the alcohol and some of these other things too. But it was at least it was far less adulterated. So they were even cleansing in that unadulterated environment. Now we are super adulterated. We are, you know, this is heinous substances they're going into the body, and then people are not correspondingly irrigating their colons. It's a recipe for disaster, and but it goes to show, because people's skeletal muscular structures are weak. The teeth are falling out. Everybody has, you know, sorry again, like when I think about it, my mind boggles, because I just get overloaded with this, like what's really going on in the modern human body. It's, you know, everybody has specialists for everything. There used to be a GP, and they could pretty much cover everything. Now you've got to have your endocrinologist and your, you know, not even within dentistry alone, there is a whole spectrum of specialists. Within every category alone, there's a spectrum, because medical science, modern medical science, takes everything apart. It compartmentalizes every symptom, and it doesn't understand that it's part of an interconnected whole. So if it addresses everything separately, then naturally you would need a specialist for that separate, that conception of a separate problem, when really, if one understands that the body is exhibiting a symptom because the whole system is in trouble, then they would address the whole system, and then that specific location of the symptom, or everything this thing is expressing, would automatically be solved. Yeah. It's much easier to solve things from a holistic perspective.
Mm.